Every year, thousands of people buy wild animals as pets and discover, sometimes too late, that the cute baby they brought home has become an unmanageable, dangerous, or deeply unhappy adult. In today's video, we'll be looking at 10 wild animals that you should never keep as a pet. And to start, we'll be looking at a small primate that has been all over social media for the wrong reasons. The slow loris has become one of the most viral animals on the internet, and its enormous round eyes and its gentle, deliberate movements have made it one of the most in-demand exotic pets in the world. Videos of slow loris being tickled, eating rice balls, and holding tiny umbrellas have accumulated hundreds of millions of views. And the comment sections are filled with people asking where they can buy one. What these videos don't show is the reality behind the exotic slow loris trade, which is one of the cruelest animal trades on the planet. Slow lorises are the only venomous primates in the world, and they produce a toxin from glands on their elbows that they combine with their saliva to deliver a venomous bite. To make them safe to handle, poachers and dealers routinely rip out or clip the loris teeth with nail clippers or wire cutters, a process that is performed without anesthesia and frequently leads to fatal infection, shock, and blood loss. An estimated 30 to 90% of slow lorises die during the capture and transport process before they ever reach a buyer. The animals that survive this ordeal and end up in someone's home are psychologically damaged, physically compromised, and completely unable to express their natural behaviors. They are nocturnal animals whose enormous eyes are adapted for total darkness, and being kept in a brightly lit house causes them chronic stress and discomfort. The viral videos of lorises raising their arms when tickled are not signs of enjoyment. The animal is accessing its venom gland because it is terrified. Every share of a cute slow loris video drives demand for an animal whose capture involves mutilation, suffering, and death on a massive scale. The slow loris takes the 10th place spot. The raccoon is one of North America's most intelligent and charismatic wild animals, and the plot that baby raccoons are genuinely adorable has led a steady stream of people to attempt to raise them as pets. Baby raccoons are playful, curious, affectionate, and can be bottle-fed and socialized in ways that make them seem like a quirky alternative to a dog or a cat. But raccoons undergo a dramatic behavioral shift as they reach sexual maturity at around 1 to 2 years of age, and the sweet, cuddly baby transforms into a hyperactive, destructive, and increasingly aggressive adult that is nothing like a domesticated pet. Adult raccoons are extraordinarily dexterous, with nimble finger-like digits on their front, paws that can open latches, turn doorknobs, unscrew jars, flip light switches, open refrigerators, and dismantle virtually anything that catches their interest, which turns out to be everything in your house that isn't bolted to the floor, and some things that are. Pet raccoon owners regularly report coming home to find kitchen cabinets emptied of their contents, and the contents scattered across the floor, curtains shredded into ribbons, electrical wiring chewed through creating genuine fire hazards, toilet seats lifted, and the contents of the bowl explored with great enthusiasm, potted plants excavated, and the soil distributed across every surface in the room and every remotely accessible food container in the house opened, sampled, and discarded. Their intelligence, which is comparable to that of some primate species, makes them impossible to outsmart with conventional pet-proofing techniques, and they will solve any latch, lock, or barrier you create faster than you can design the next one. Some owners have described the experience of keeping a pet raccoon as an escalating arms race of containment that the raccoon always wins. They are also one of the primary carriers of rabies in North America, accounting for roughly 30% of all confirmed rabies cases in wildlife. And they can carry raccoon roundworm, a parasite called Balis ascaris proyanis, whose microscopic eggs are shed in their feces by the millions and can survive in the environment for years. If these eggs are accidentally ingested by a human, which can happen through contaminated surfaces, soil, or objects that the raccoon has defecated on, they can migrate to the brain and cause a condition called neural larvae migrans that can result in permanent brain damage, blindness, or death. This parasite risk alone should be enough to disqualify the raccoon from any list of potential pets. But the destruction, the aggression, and the sheer relentlessness of living with an adult raccoon usually drives the point home long before the medical risks become relevant. The raccoon takes the 9th place spot. The red fox has been the subject of numerous domestication attempts over the years, and many people who live in areas where foxes are common have wondered whether they could simply raise one as a pet. After all, foxes look like a cross between a small dog and a cat, and they are clearly intelligent and charismatic animals. But the reality of keeping a fox in a house is very different from the fantasy, and the primary reason is the smell. Foxes use urine to mark their territory, and their urine contains compounds that produce one of the most potent and persistent odors in the mammalian world. Fox owners describe the smell as a combination of skunk spray and ammonia that permeates everything it touches, including furniture, carpets, walls, and clothing, and that no amount of cleaning can fully eliminate. Foxes cannot be litter trained in the way that a cat can, and they will mark every object, surface, and corner of your home with a frequency and enthusiasm that would be impressive if it weren't so deeply unpleasant to live with. Beyond the smell, foxes are hyperactive, nocturnal, and destructive. They dig obsessively, which means that carpets, gardens, and upholstery are all at risk. They are also extremely noisy, producing a range of screams, barks, and shrieks that are particularly loud at night during the breeding season. The famous Russian fox domestication experiment, which has been running for over 60 years and has produced genuinely tame foxes through selective breeding, has demonstrated that while domestication is technically possible, the resulting animals still retain many of the traits that make wild foxes unsuitable as pets, including the territorial scent marking and the nocturnal activity patterns. The fox takes the 8th place spot. The otter is one of the most popular animals on the internet, and videos of pet otter playing, cuddling, and making adorable squeaking noises have driven a surge in demand for otter as pets, particularly in Japan, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. Social media accounts dedicated to pet otter accumulate millions of followers, and the animals are often portrayed as playful, affectionate companions that are essentially aquatic puppies. The reality is very different. Otter are among the most destructive and difficult animals to keep in captivity, and the list of problems that otter owners report reads like a catalog of home ownership nightmares. Otter are semi-aquatic animals that need constant access to clean water for swimming, diving, and playing, and providing this in a domestic setting requires either a dedicated pool with a professional filtration and drainage system or daily trips to a natural water source, neither of which is practical, affordable, or sustainable for most people. Without adequate water access, otter develop skin conditions, stress behaviors, and depression that are visible even to people who know nothing about otter welfare. They also produce a musky, oily, intensely fishy odor that permeates their fur, their bedding, and everything they come into contact with, and their droppings, which they deposit with enthusiastic frequency and in locations that seem specifically chosen for maximum inconvenience, have a stench that has been described by keepers at multiple accredited zoological facilities as among the worst smells in the entire animal kingdom, which is a significant achievement in a profession that involves cleaning up after hippos and elephant seals. They are also bitty, not playfully bitty in the way that a puppy might nip during play. Genuinely aggressively put you in the emergency room bitey. Otter have powerful jaws and interlocking sharp teeth that are designed for crushing crayfish, shells, cracking open mussels, and crunching through fish bones. And their bites can cause deep, ragged puncture wounds that are prone to serious bacterial infection. Many otter owners who proudly posted adorable videos of their cuddly pet in its first year have quietly surrendered the animal after being hospitalized for a bite that required stitches, antibiotics, and a tetanus booster. The pet otter trend has also driven a surge in illegal trafficking of Asian small-clawed otter, which are now classified as vulnerable, and conservation organizations have identified social media as one of the primary drivers of the demand that is pushing this species toward extinction. The otter takes the 7th place spot, and for our next section, we'll be heading to South America. The capybara has become the internet's favorite animal in recent years, and its calm, friendly demeanor and its apparent willingness to socialize with virtually any other species, from ducks and cats to crocodilians and monkeys, has earned it the unofficial title of the world's friendliest animal. This reputation has inevitably led to a growing demand for capybaras as pets, and in several U.S. states where ownership is legal, people have begun acquiring them without fully understanding what they are committing to. Capybaras are the largest rodents in the world, weighing up to 65 kilograms, and they are intensely social animals that live in groups of 10 to 20 individuals in the wild. Keeping a single capybara on its own is essentially sentencing it to a life of loneliness and nair. For depression and solitary capybaras frequently develop behavioral problems, including anxiety, aggression, and self-harm. They also require a large outdoor space with access to a pool or a pond, as they are semi-aquatic and need to submerge themselves in water regularly to maintain their skin health and to thermoregulate. Their diet consists primarily of grasses, and they need to eat enormous quantities of roughage to keep their continuously growing teeth worn down. A capybara whose teeth are not properly maintained through diet will develop dental problems that are painful, expensive to treat, and potentially fatal. They are also surprisingly fast and surprisingly strong when they want to be. And a 65 kg rodent that decides it doesn't want to go back in its enclosure is not an animal that most people can physically handle. Now, speaking of deadly animals, if you're the kind of person who enjoys learning about the world's most dangerous creatures, then you might be interested in an ebook that we personally wrote called The Deadliest 50 Animals on Earth. It covers some genuinely fascinating and terrifying animals from every continent, and the link is in the description if you want to check it out. The capybara takes the 6th place spot. The pet monkey is one of the oldest and most persistent bad ideas in the exotic pet trade. Capuchins, marmosets, squirrel monkeys, and spider monkeys have been sold as pets for decades, and the appeal is obvious. Baby monkeys are extraordinarily cute. They cling to their owners like human infants. They can wear tiny outfits, and they display behaviors that are recognizably human-like because they are, after all, primates just like us. But baby monkeys grow up, and when they do, the cute, clingy infant becomes a territorial, aggressive, sexually frustrated adult that is nothing like a human child and nothing like a pet. Adult monkeys bite. They bite hard. They bite often. And they bite without warning. And monkey bites are medically significant because primates carry diseases that can be transmitted directly to humans through saliva and blood, including herpes B virus, tuberculosis, and various gastrointestinal parasites. They are also incredibly destructive, using their dexterous hands and their problem-solving intelligence to take apart anything in their environment that they find interesting, which includes plumbing, electrical wiring, door frames, and anything else that can be gripped, twisted, or pulled. Perhaps worst of all, pet monkeys that have been raised in isolation from other monkeys are psychologically damaged in ways that are heartbreaking to observe. They develop stereotypic behaviors, including rocking, self-biting, and hair pulling, that are clear signs of chronic stress and emotional suffering. The monkey takes the 5th place spot. Venomous snakes are kept as pets by a surprisingly large number of people across the world. And in many US states, it is perfectly legal to keep cobras, mambas, rattlesnakes, gaboon vipers, and other dangerously venomous species in your home with no permit, no training, no insurance, and no inspection. The only thing standing between a king cobra and the suburban neighborhood is being kept in is whatever enclosure its owner has decided is secure enough. And as countless escape incidents have demonstrated, the owner's assessment of what constitutes secure is frequently and catastrophically wrong. The consequences of this regulatory vacuum are predictable and grim. Venomous snake escapes are a regular occurrence across the United States. And when a king cobra, a gaboon viper, or an Egyptian cobra gets loose in a residential neighborhood, the result is a public safety emergency that puts first responders, neighbors, children, pets, and the snake itself at serious risk. These escapes can trigger evacuations, school closures, and multi-day search operations that cost tens of thousands of dollars in emergency response resources, all because one person wanted to keep a lethal reptile in a bedroom. Between 2005 and 2020, there were multiple documented fatalities in the United States from venomous pet snakes and an unknown number of additional bites that required antivenom treatment. Antivenom for exotic species such as cobras and mambas is not routinely stocked at most American hospitals, and sourcing the correct antivenom for a bite from a species that is native to another continent can take hours or even days, during which time the victim may die or suffer permanent tissue damage. The problem is compounded by the fact that many venomous snake keepers are self-taught, hobbyists, and social media enthusiasts rather than trained herpetologists, and they often dramatically underestimate the speed, the intelligence, the strength, and the sheer determination of a snake that wants to escape its enclosure. A cobra that has been safely contained for years can escape through a gap that its owner didn't know existed, and the resulting search and rescue operation can shut down entire neighborhoods and cost thousands of dollars in emergency response. The venomous snake takes the 4th place spot. The wolf and the wolf-dog hybrid occupy a strange and tragic space in the exotic pet world. People are drawn to them because they look like dogs, and the romantic image of having a loyal, wild companion at your side is deeply appealing to many people. But wolves are not dogs. Despite sharing over 99% of their DNA, wolves and domestic dogs have been on separate evolutionary paths for at least 15,000 years. And during that time, dogs have been selectively bred for traits such as friendliness, obedience, reduced aggression, and the ability to read human social cues. Wolves have not. A pet wolf or a high-content wolf-dog hybrid will never behave like a domestic dog, no matter how it is raised, no matter how much love it receives, and no matter how early the socialization begins. They are inherently shy, anxious, and unpredictable around strangers and unfamiliar situations. And they lack the genetic predisposition toward human social bonding that 15,000 years of selective breeding has instilled in domestic dogs. A golden retriever is genetically programmed to seek human approval and to find comfort in human companionship. A wolf is genetically programmed to be suspicious of anything unfamiliar and to respond to perceived threats with either flight or aggression. And no amount of hand-rearing can override millions of years of evolutionary programming. They are destructive on a scale that makes a poorly behaved Labrador look like a plush toy within the strength to tear through drywall, rip apart furniture, and dig under or climb over fencing that would contain any domestic dog breed. They require enormous enclosures with secure fencing, at least 2.5 meters high, that extends at least a meter underground to prevent the determined digging escapes that wolves are famous for. They howl at night for hours, which will not endear you to your neighbors. And they can become aggressive during mating season, during feeding, or in response to stimuli that are completely invisible to their human owners, including hormonal changes in human family members, the arrival of unfamiliar visitors, or the presence of other animals in the house. Many sanctuaries and rescue organizations across the United States are filled to capacity with wolf dogs that were purchased as cute, fluffy, wolf-like puppies and surrendered within 6 months to a year when the owners realized that they had acquired an animal that was fundamentally, irreconcilably incompatible with life inside a human home. These sanctuaries do extraordinary work, but they are overwhelmed by the number of animals that arrive every year, and some wolf dogs that cannot be placed end up being euthanized because there is simply nowhere for them to go. The wolf takes the 3rd place spot. The tiger is the largest cat in the world, and there are estimated to be more tigers living in captivity in the United States than there are in the wild worldwide. Some estimates put the number of captive tigers in the US at between 5,000 and 10,000 individuals, compared to approximately 4,500 in the wild. And the majority of these captive tigers are kept in private facilities, roadside zoos, and private homes, rather than in accredited zoos and sanctuaries. In some states, it is easier to buy a tiger than it is to adopt a dog from a shelter, and the lack of federal regulation means that there is no comprehensive database tracking how many tigers are in private hands or where they are being kept. A tiger cub costs as little as a few thousand, and for the first few months, it is a playful, seemingly manageable animal that can be bottle-fed, photographed, and paraded on social media for likes and attention. But tiger cubs grow fast, and within 2 years, that cute cub weighs over 200 kilograms, eats 5 to 7 kilograms of raw meat per day, and has the strength, the speed, and the predatory instincts to kill its owner with a single swipe. The cost of properly housing, feeding, and providing veterinary care for a captive tiger is estimated at between $5,000 and $20,000 per year, and many private owners simply cannot afford it. Malnourished tigers in inadequate enclosures are a depressingly common sight at roadside attractions across the American South, and the animals that escape or are abandoned often end up at sanctuaries that are already operating at capacity. The tiger takes the 2nd place spot. The chimpanzee is the animal that most powerfully illustrates why wild animals should never be kept as pets. And the reason is simple. Chimpanzees are so similar to us that people convince themselves they can be raised as human children, and so different from us that the inevitable failure of this experiment can be catastrophic. Baby chimpanzees are irresistibly cute, emotionally expressive, and capable of forming deep bonds with their human caregivers that feel genuine and reciprocal. They can learn sign language, use tools, recognize themselves in mirrors, and display a range of emotions that are immediately recognizable to any human who interacts with them. For the first few years of their lives, they seem like the ultimate pet, a furry, intelligent companion that is almost human. But chimpanzees are not almost human. They are wild animals that are between 5 and 8 times stronger than an adult human. And as they reach sexual maturity at around 8 to 10 years of age, they undergo dramatic behavioral changes that transform the gentle, playful juvenile into a powerful, territorial, and unpredictable adult. Male chimpanzees in particular become increasingly aggressive as they mature, driven by hormonal changes that are a normal and necessary part of chimpanzee social development, but that are incompatible with life in a human home. They display dominance through intimidation, aggression, and sometimes violence, and a mature male chimpanzee that has been raised in a human household does not understand why its human family members won't submit to its dominance, displays the way a wild chimpanzee troop would. The result in case after tragic case is an animal that becomes too strong, too aggressive, and too unpredictable to manage, and that eventually injures or kills the people who raised it. The most famous case is that of Travis, a 14-year-old chimpanzee in Stamford, Connecticut, who attacked his owner's friend in 2009 with a ferocity that shocked the nation. The victim survived, but suffered life-altering injuries that required a face transplant, and Travis was shot and killed by police. The incident led to the passage of the Federal Captive Primate Safety Act, which prohibited the interstate commerce of primates as pets. But thousands of chimpanzees and other primates remain in private ownership across the country, and the risk of another incident like Travis remains very real. The chimpanzee easily takes the first place spot, and it is the single most powerful argument that exists against keeping wild animals as pets. No matter how much you love them, no matter how well you treat them, and no matter how confident you are in your ability to manage them, they are not pets. They are wild animals, and they will always be wild animals, no matter how human they may seem. And once again, if you want to learn about the deadliest animals on the planet, check out our ebook, The Deadliest 50 Animals on Earth. The link is in the description. Of course, there are many other wild animals that people keep as pets and shouldn't. And I'm sure some of you will have suggestions. If you have any thoughts, then feel free to let me know down below. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.